decentralized engagements that you talked about, how do you define as the most important API? Because when you consult with companies, people don't know what to open up in their interfaces and make it public. The more decentralized you are, the better you win at in the economy and the value chains. Who does that job? Do you have a set of guys who understand the domain and then they help you exploit that domain well? Okay, because not all needs to be exposed well, things like that. So because you say account opening, there are 100 guys, fintech companies who are doing account opening. There are 100 guys who are doing payments. There are 100 guys who are doing mobile-based app exchanges. So who takes that call? Do you have domain experts who help you to, expose that layer of it?
Yep. So ultimately, each organization is going to have to decide which APIs are important for them to expose. And they have to deal with that.
At times it could also be, sorry to interrupt you, it could also be that you're sitting on a mine of data and you don't know what to exploit and what not to. So probably unless you're wearing the C-level hat in the company, you don't have that level of autonomy and say, okay, go this way or that way, that kind of stuff.
It has to be approached as a business decision. And this really comes to the kind of work that I do with my fellow catalysts at Axway, these kinds of conversations. How do you help an organization get off on the right foot with APIs? How do you help them measure the right things and deliver the right kind of outcomes? I will use as an example a metric that is sometimes used by large organizations, but frankly is in isolation the wrong metric, and that is number of APIs, right? As organizations have moved to innovate quickly and try and break things and empower developers, some of them have latched.
Yes.
So that's a great question. The first things organizations have to understand is you have to approach your APIs like they're products, like they're real products, and make the decision about which ones you're going to expose and which ones you're going to leverage as if you were talking about real products in the case of banks like credit cards and mortgages, and approach them with the same seriousness that you would approach those kinds of products. A lot of organizations still see APIs not as a business asset, but more as a technology asset. And they end up defaulting to a lot of the same approaches that they took historically with things like SOA and older forms of integration. And as a result, they end up sometimes following the wrong metrics and looking at the wrong things for success. For example, number of APIs. That's a really common one. A lot of organizations, because they're not sure what to measure, they're not used to treating APIs like products, they end up defaulting to, well, how many APIs do I have? Count them. More equals better. That in isolation is not a good metric. If you're a developer, you know that taking one API and turning it into 10
you could
APIs,
be very rightly said. I think you could just have one or two APIs, but if they are in the right place in the value chain, you can tend to make more money in the whole bargain than measuring the number of APIs that you've exposed to. Like Pieces or PayPal, for instance, those kind of guys.
Plaid is one API. They built an empire on one well-written API. So this notion of I need 100 or I need 1,000 or look at me, I have 10,000 is specious. It's not that that's a bad thing to measure. It's that you have to measure it in relation to other metrics as well. And this comes back to the kind of work I do with the catalysts at Axway.